going on YouTube? It's Trev. Let me warn you right now, buckle in, because this is going to be a longer one. I've got some things that I want to talk to you about and some ideas that I want to bounce off of you. Uh, please, as I said, this is going to be a longer one. Please watch this whole video. If you don't have time to watch it all, come back, finish it, whatever, because I really, really need your feedback on this one. And if you have no intention of watching the whole thing, then thanks for clicking, but I'll see you later. I really need you to just watch it, right? All right, so a few things that I want to share with you. I want to set up what I'm going to be talking about. So let me just go over here for a second and give me a second to get there. Okay, I've talked about this a couple times in my last, I don't know, a few videos or whatever. I've mentioned this particular proposal, 10983. And, nothing about the proposal, whether it's good or bad or whatever, but it's already passed. And it is, it has been implemented. But I had mentioned that it really barely passed, right? 48% yes, 42% no, 9% abstained. It could have gone either way, right? And I had suggested that because this passed with such a slight margin, that it was likely that we were going to, if this, give this some time, and if it even looked like it was starting to fail, we were going to end up seeing another proposal that was going to try to countermand this and change it because, a little more than half of the community actually voted for this, but there was still a very loud other half of the community who didn't believe that didn't believe this was a good idea. And I know that they were just chomping at the bit to, look for a chink in the armor in a way that they could try to turn this thing around. Well, give me a second. It's not on up for vote yet, but on Agora, we really haven't even given this thing a chance yet, right? And we've already got repeal proposal 10983. I knew it was going to happen. And I just, in some circumstances, I love being the guy that says, I told you so, but not with this community. I don't like that, right? But I have to say, I knew it. I knew it was going to happen, okay? I'm recommended to repeal proposal 10983 and reverse the code changes implemented by that proposal. Now, this comes from Matt's Market, and he is co-owner of LUNC Live Validator, okay? So, the man holds a little sway, I'm sure, with the people who are delegated to that particular validator and maybe with some other people. This is the circle that I've been commenting on that we are going around in, okay? I understand, I get the idea of governance and validators and the community being able to vote on proposals and having control over this Terra Classic chain, right? Taking our fate into our own hands, as it were. I get it, right? But you got something like this. You got something like, and again, not for it or against it, but you got something like the 1.2% burn tax, which we fought like crazy to be able to even vote on. Then we voted it in a matter of weeks later, there was another proposal saying, it's killing volume, let's get rid of it and let's do something else. And then we dropped to 0.2%, right? And then you've got a bunch of people screaming about that, that didn't bring volume back. Let's go back to tax. And, we're all over the place. Can we be honest about that? We're all over the damn place. Every time something is submitted, every time something is proposed, every time an idea happens, you have people on the other side trying to scream it down. It's a circle. We're not getting anywhere, okay? Don't shoot the messenger. I'm sure you guys can clearly see it as well as I can. Are some of these proposals good ideas? Yeah, they're good ideas. But we have this thing happening right now where, all right, let's look at it like this, right? Uh, Before the depegging, when it was just Luna, it was, you know, Terra Luna. We had UST pegged to the dollar. We had Do Kwon. We had TFL. I am not in any way, shape, or form advocating for Do Kwon or TFL or anything like that. I'm just making a point here, right? When that was in existence, they had validators, and I wasn't a part of. I wasn't invested in Luna at that point, right? I didn't invest until after the peg, so let's get that clear. But from what I understand, they had validators, so they had delegation, they had proposals and votes or whatever. But you also had the creator of the chain, Do Kwon, leading, right, in charge. TFL there to do his will. And even though things, I would imagine, were able to come up for vote, there was one specific leadership group, right? And they had authority, which wouldn't be challenged because he was the creator of the whole thing, okay? That was a structure. Now, how much decentralization or centralization that is, that's up for debate or whatever. But the damn thing went to $116 per coin, right? Under that type of format. Now, did he make some bad moves? Again, that's not the point of this, right? Where are we right now? Right now, we're in a system where we have reestablished governance, we have staking, we have validators, we can submit proposals and vote on proposals, we have all that, right? What we don't have is one specific team or group who is the focal point, who is, I don't want to say in charge, but at least leading, right? We have Terra Rebels, whom I've had on the channel many times, who I speak to often, and who I appreciate and revere in some ways for what they have been able to accomplish. Wouldn't be having this conversation right now if it wasn't for some of the things that they've done, right? We have TCV, Terra Civita, formed by some former Terra Rebels, who are also at this point able to, kind of make changes and guide things and kind of invoke their own agenda, right? No judgments, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. That's not the point, okay? The thing is, there could be another group to come up next week or next month or whatever. And right now, everyone is warring. These factions are warring for control, right? Because there's only so much funding to go around. And, if you can prove to the community that, you're the best ones for the job, then, maybe the funding will go to you. I don't know. I'm speculating at this point as far as intentions, right? I just know that these two particular groups, which I would say are the kind of the main groups that are out right now, these two particular groups are not working together and probably will never work together. There is a lot of bad blood. I've had these conversations, both publicly and in private. There's a lot of bad blood. I don't think they'll ever work together, okay? And in some cases, they could potentially work against each other, which we have seen a lot of lately, okay? Some skirmishes, some pretty nasty ones, okay? Well, what do we do, right? How do we move forward? How do we stop all the mudslinging? How do we have structure, right? How do we set one path for the community to follow straight ahead, upward, so that we're not going around in this circle that every time something is proposed, here comes another proposal to try to get rid of it, right? Where have we gone? Let's really think about it. since we've established governance, where have we actually gone? Oh, a lot of things have been accomplished, right? But has the chain really moved forward? Is it worth more? Are we dropping zeros? Are we have we really burned or gotten rid of any major amount of the supply that would make a dent, right? What has actually happened? We've gone in a bunch of circles, and now we've got people looking for funding for the things that they want to do. And, you know, in some cases we're granting it. In some cases we're not granting it. But what's going to happen? Well, yesterday evening, I had just a little brainstorming session by myself. Like a half an hour, I wrote something up. I've said it a million times. I'm not the most technical guy. I don't understand a lot of how these things work. But the way it makes sense to me is how I kind of wrote this thing up. And I want to share it with you because I want your honest feedback. Okay? Now, I've already shared it with some people, and I've shared it with members of, you know, a particular group. And I kind of knew ahead of time what they were going to say. Because as you will see, as I get into this, if my idea were ever to be actually taken seriously and the community, it was something the community wanted to move forward with, it would take some power away from all of these other groups and factions. And by taking a little bit of power maybe away from them, it could take the potential for some funding away from them as well. I don't know. Again, speculation. I'm not necessarily saying that this was anybody's intention, but when I thought about it ahead of time, I'm like, they're not going to like this, and these are the reasons why, right? And sure enough, I got the exact kind of pushback that I thought I was going to get. Probably for the reasons I'm thinking, although I'm sure they would argue that point and say, no, that's not it, right? All right, so all that said, let me bring this up, and I'm going to read it through for you. And again, it might make sense, as it makes sense in my head. It might make no sense at all. It might never be doable. There might be some things here that I just had not thought of, which would make this, you know, just totally, it can't happen, right? But I can tell you that I've submitted something like this prior on Agora and ran it by Ed Kim. It was similar to this, right? It was along these lines. And Ed Kim at the time, when I submitted it, was actually kind of a co-author of Alex's proposal when they were dealing with this whole multi-sig $4.16 million thing, right? And Ed told me, and I don't think he would mind me telling you that he told me, that if he wasn't already involved with that particular proposal, that my proposal was something he could definitely get behind. And that was awesome for me, okay? It was a little bit of validation. So I think that what I'm going to show you now kind of makes sense. But if it doesn't, again, comments in the comment section. Before I get into this, please, I'm going to remind you right now, go and hit the like button. Hit the like button now. Because as we start getting into this, you're probably going to forget to do it. Or maybe you might decide you don't like any of this and don't want to hit the like button. So let me ask you to do it now, right? If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. At the end, make sure you leave some comments in the comment section. Okay, so here we go. This is on, I wrote it up on, actually I wrote it in the notes section on my phone, but then I uploaded it to Medium because I have a Medium account. I have not published this on Medium. I have not published this on Agora. I have this platform that I'm fortunate enough to have and that you guys allow me to have. And I figured that I would bring it here first as kind of a preliminary thing. And let's see if any of this makes any sense first before I go to any of those other platforms. Okay. So let me read through this and I'll explain it to you. And this is why I said this is actually going to take a while. This isn't a very long proposal, but I want to kind of go over it with you and explain my thought pattern. Okay. Terra Classic Leadership Senate. Do not get hung up on that name. I know the Senate thing has been thrown around a little bit later. This could be named whatever you want to name it. I don't care. I just want, again, half an hour brainstorming. That's just what I put down, right? So we're going to refer to it as the TCLS, and we're going to be talking about a group, a leadership group, right? Okay. It is my observation that one common denominator with all recent proposals that attempt to implement some sort of structure for the Terra Classic chain is that they all attempt to push a specific agenda and or particular path. Such specifics have invited opposition at every turn. Now, what I mean by that is that, okay, we've had the holacracy, we've had the DEX, we've had a few different proposals, right? And we've had some proposals over the last, months or so, right, that actually attempt to put some sort of leadership group in there, right? The problem that there's a lot of problems with some of those proposals, but one of the common denominators that I've seen is that they want to put in a leadership kind of group, but then within their proposal, they are trying to dictate an agenda for this group, a specific agenda for this group. My idea, as you're going to see, is that instead of the community or various people trying to push various agendas, my idea is that we need a group to sift through all of the various ideas that are out there, and there are some good ones, right? And let us know, because this will be a group of professionals in their field, right? Let us know what they think is the best path forward, right? Instead of going like this and going in circles, what should we actually adopt and do and start moving forward, right? That's the general idea here. Okay. If one thing has become clear, it is that there are almost as many ideologies in the LUNC community as there are coins in the total supply. Every plan that is proposed is met with a loud and sometimes violent obstructionism. The hope of unity or lockstep is a futile one, which will keep us in this perpetual loop, preventing any forward momentum. I sincerely feel that way, and I've expressed that feeling to many people, and I've never had, so far, anybody tell me, no, you're wrong, things are fine. Everybody says the same thing. We're going in circles. We need structure. Okay. It is my sincere belief that in order to accomplish the successful revitalization of Terra Classic, LUNC, and realize the monetary gains we are all hoping for, we need leadership. I don't know what anybody else is in this for. I'm invested. I'm an investor. I'm in it to make money, right? I want to see some zeros get shed. I want to see some of the supply go down. I want this. I got in as low as I could possibly get. I could have got in lower, but I got in when I got in, and I got in fairly low. I have the amount of coins that I have, and I want them to increase in value. I want to make money, right? I think that's what we're all here for. Excuse me a second. Okay. A central group of professionals trusted by the community, here's the important part, elected, not appointed or assumed into position, with the experience and technical know-how to cut through the noise and determine for the community which path is most likely to succeed. So, no, we didn't create LUNC. Nobody that's in this community right now created LUNC. That was created by Do Kwon, right? But Do Kwon is not running it right now. So when you have, we see it with, and I've used this example before, when you have, like this dictator or this, whatever, in these lands, and for whatever reason they leave, whether they were killed or whether they were exiled or whatever, captured, whatever happened, all of a sudden there's a vacuum and all kind of factions start coming in and trying to take control of that land, right? This is what we have going on right now. Because there is no leader, everyone's rushing in and trying to be the leader. And they're going to tell you that's not what they're trying to do. It's exactly what they're trying to do, in my opinion. This isn't financial advice, not a financial advisor. I can't tell you exactly what is in people's heads, but I can tell you how it feels to me. That's how it feels to me. All right. A central group of professionals trusted by the community, elected, not appointed, assumed or assumed into position. With the experience and technical know-how to cut through the noise, okay, as we just said, community, determine the community, which path is most likely to succeed. We could spend all day going through all the proposals on Agora, all the ideas that are being submitted on Agora, in the Telegram rooms, in the Discords, ideas like crazy. Some of them better than others, some of them horrible, some of them really good, okay? I'm talking about a group of people who will sift through all that, the community ideas, right? Or maybe submit some of their own, that's fine, right? But people who have done this work and who we trust know what they're doing and can move this forward and decide with all those ideas which ones we can actually put together in a structure that will move us in one direction, right? Okay. This is by no means to suggest abandoning decentralization or removing power from the community to hand over to a small group. The community will select these leaders and the community can replace them. Though they must be able to make day-to-day moves and decisions while in the process of steering the ship, there will be mechanisms in place to assure everyone is doing their job to the best of their ability and always for the benefit of the community. So, yeah, I'm not talking about just handing this over to people and letting them just decide everything and we just sit back and hope they make us money. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that we pick people, we elect people who are capable of doing the various jobs that need to be done in forming this group and moving us forward, okay? And if they're not doing their job, we hold the power to replace them, okay? All right. From my perspective, the choice is simple. Elect a trusted group to lead us forward down one path, or continue to battle each other over every idea as we spin our wheels till the tread has worn flat. Here's how we could proceed. So now I'm going to spell out kind of my ideas of what this sort of would look like, right? And again, this was really thrown together. I'm sure that there's so much that could be added to this, changed about it, tweaked. There are probably things I didn't think of, but here's what I did think of, okay? And don't get hung up on these dates. Again, they're just there as kind of placeholders to form my thoughts, right? Although these would be awesome dates if we could do this. So elections. We would hold elections. And let's say we held elections on the 15th of January 2023. That would give potential candidates starting January 1st, 2 weeks to campaign out ahead of time for the various positions that would be available in this group, okay? Candidacy via proposal submitted 1/14/23, winners decided by the most votes. So as of January 1st, everybody could start, again, don't get hung up on the dates, but let's say, right, January 1st, everybody starts campaigning, for whatever position within that group that they want. And there would be various positions in the group, okay? We don't want just a group of like 5 coders or a group of 5 marketing people. We need certain positions filled. I'm not sure what they are. Those are things that have to be kind of determined, but we'll get into that, right? So you've got 2 weeks to kind of campaign for that, right? Starting, let's say, the 1st of January. Now, on the 14th, you actually submit the proposal on Terra Station, Rebel Station, whatever station we have at that point, right? You submit the proposal, and then we have the regular voting situation, what is 6 days, 7 days, whatever it is, that we vote on it, right? And whoever in those specific categories, in those specific positions, whoever gets the most votes, they get the position, okay? Selected by a majority of the community. All right. Candidates must specify which one of several key positions they are applying for. So you can't just, it's not just a general, I'm applying to be on the group. What specific position in that group are you applying for? And you can only apply for one. Necessary positions to be determined, which will also dictate how many seats are on the Senate. I really don't know. So, you would want to speak to, an Ed or Zaradar or some of these guys who actually would be able to say, if you were to put a team together, these are exactly the positions that you need to fill, right? And, how many people is that? Is that 5 people? Is that 8 people? I don't know, right? We'd have to find that out. Necessary positions to be determined, which will also dictate how many seats on the Senate. I strongly suggest a community representative position as the conscience of the group and to keep the Senate community focused. So my idea is that these technical guys, these coder types, right, can very often lose sight of what the community sentiment is. If they were to make a move, what is that going to look like to the community? How's that going to come off? That's something they should keep in mind. Also, when they are going to propose something to the community, you can't propose it in engineer lingo, right? It has to be simplified so that we all understand it. So this position that I'm talking about, this person would not necessarily take part in voting on certain ways to move that the rest of the group would. But what this person, in my eyes, what this person would do is this would not be an influencer, right? Matter of fact, none of these positions would be open to influencers. We'll get to that, right? This would be someone who is capable of being unbiased, who is lurking, not necessarily participating, but lurking in the Telegram rooms, in the Discords, on the Twitter Spaces, watching the different YouTube videos, whatever, is really getting a feel for the community and how things are going and is able to relay that to the team. Community sentiment, keeping them focused on what is it the community is looking for here, and are the moves that you guys making community centric, right? That's what that position would be in my head. I think that's essential. I think it's absolutely necessary, but again, up for debate. Okay. Include a spend proposal for salaries to be determined. This obviously is always a difficult one, right? You got to pay these people, right? And, what are they worth? What are those positions worth? We got to figure that out, right? There's got to be a sweet spot because, and I just to throw numbers out there, I am not suggesting these would be the numbers, right? But let's say that one of these positions would be, we would say that we would pay them $60,000 a year, right? So if the community said, or if we said, yeah, we want to pay you guys $60,000 a year, maybe everybody who would actually be, eligible for these positions or qualified for these positions, they might say, I would never, I would love to take the position, but I would never do it for that little amount of money, right? And so the community has to decide, okay, and maybe they would say, well, I would maybe do it for 80, right? And then there's a negotiation, right? Maybe do we meet in the middle? All right, what if we said 70? Will you do it for 70? Whatever, right? Or we might say, we think that you should get 60, and they say, oh, okay, great, right? And then we go ahead with that. I don't know. I don't know what that number is, but we'd have to figure that out. These positions would have to be paid. It would have to be fair and equitable for the people doing the work and for the community, okay? All right. 6-month terms will auto-renew. So each person holding a position, that it would be the term would be 6 months, and unless their position is challenged by someone at the end of that 6 months, they just start a new term, right? Now, here's what I mean by challenge. Let me read this first. 6-month terms will auto-renew if not challenged. Challenge for a position will come by proposal and must be submitted a minimum of 30 days before end of term. A challenge election will be held 1 week prior to end of term, and the elected party will begin at the beginning of the next 6-month term. So, if somebody holds a position and somebody out there says, you know what, I don't think they're doing a great job, and I think I could do a better job, right? They've got all the time in the world, within that 6 months that, whatever. They've got all the time in the world to kind of sell their case to the community and, campaign, do whatever they want to do and let everybody know, hey, when it comes time, I'm going to be challenging for that. You can do that whenever you want to do it, okay? But you have to actually submit a proposal, not before, not after, right? 30 days before the end of that 6-month term. You have to actually submit a proposal on Terra Station, Rebel Station, whatever station, right? And let the community vote as to whether or not, over that next 6 days, 7 days, whatever that is, right? Vote yes or no as to whether or not they even want you to challenge for that position. And if the community says yes, you should challenge for that position. If they vote yes for it, then we go into, a similar election situation like we talked about earlier, right? You've at that point, because it's 30 days, right? You've got the first week, we decide whether you're able to or not. And if we decide that you're able to, then you got 2 weeks to actually campaign. And then 1 week before the end of that term, we actually have the election and we vote on, and whoever gets the highest vote. Now, you might have more than one challenger that actually gets voted in and says, yes, we want you all to challenge, right? It just restarts the election process. Now, maybe no one will challenge. Maybe this person's doing a great job and nobody's even going to bother challenging because they know that even though they might want the position, they know they're not going to get it, right? In which case, the person in that position just continues another 6 months until finally somebody decides that they want to challenge, okay? Do you get that? If there's any questions about that, leave a comment in the comment section. All right. A vote of no confidence and removal of any Senate member may be conducted at any time, but only, this is the important part, but only initiated by a unanimous vote among the other Senate members. Not the community, the Senate members, okay? I'll explain why. So, let's say we have 6 people on this council, right? And again, I don't know the number. Let's say there's 6 people on the council. One person, the other 5 members decide for whatever reason is not fulfilling their obligations, not doing any work at all, working, in contrary to the community, is just an obstructionist, or maybe something happens where they just can't continue their term, right? All of the other remaining delegates need to vote yes, we need to remove this person. It needs to be unanimous, okay? All right, so they do that. Let me continue reading. If the Senate votes to remove one of its members, candidates for the vacated position will have the requisite 2-week campaigning time immediately followed by an election as spelled out above. And again, you might have multiple people that decide to campaign for it, but the campaigning and election process is pretty much always the same, right? Now, the Senate can do this at any time, right? The community will have the ability to elect someone new to a position every 6 months, but will not be able to call for removal of a Senate member by any other means. Here's the thing. We see what happens already, and like I showed you earlier about, you submit a proposal, it works, and then you got a bunch of people yelling and screaming, that was a horrible proposal, we should never have done that, blah, 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 right? Once we elect these people into their positions, we need them concentrating on the work that they're supposed to be doing, not fending off, mud being slung at them constantly by the community, by other people that, they can't constantly be defending their position and opposers or challengers to people that want to get them out. We elected them by, majority vote. They're in there for 6 months. Unless they do something egregious that the rest of the Senate says, we got to get rid of you, in 6 months, we can maybe put up another candidate if that's what we want to do. It has to be like that. It has to. The community can't just oust somebody whenever they feel like it, because we'll be ousting people left and right all the time just because somebody has a lot of followers and is screaming loud about it, we'll never get anything done. I hope that you guys realize that, right? Okay. This is meant to prevent constant interruption by disruptive individuals or groups. The Senate members should focus on revitalization and building of Terra Classic and not have to worry about defending their position constantly. All right, moving on. Candidate requirements and restrictions. And again, can be added to, can be subtracted from, can be changed around. These are my ideas. A candidate should be a community member and have held any quantity of LUNC in a wallet that is owned and controlled by them for 30 days prior to official candidacy. This is obviously to prevent, let's say that we decided we're going to do this, right? I mean, I don't know. Let's say we did. This is to prevent someone from coming in from the outside and saying, "I'm qualified. I'll run to be on that Senate of LUNC," and they don't even own any LUNC, right? Or from saying, "Oh, I'll buy 1,000 of them or whatever, and now I'm in the community." No, you have to have had some LUNC, and I don't care if you own 2 of them. If you own 2 of them, you're in the community, right? You have to have had that for 30 days before you even are eligible to submit a candidacy. I think that's fair. Okay, doxing. And this one's going to be controversial, but I'll explain my reasoning. Doxing is not required for candidacy. However, candidates are encouraged to do so, as this decision will most likely influence votes. There's been, I think, enough demonstration of the potential hazards and dangers associated with being doxxed in this community, right? Or just in general. We've had jobs called. We've had what school do children go to? Threats of saying where your wife works or whatever, right? And anyone who is naive enough to believe we're just talking about running a blockchain. Who's going to threaten somebody's safety or life over that? If you're naive enough to not realize the extremism world that we live in, you got to understand there's money involved here. There are some people who are heavily invested in this. And when money's involved, people will do crazy things. Crazy people will do crazy things, right? So I absolutely understand and stand by anyone who decides that they do not want to be doxxed, yet they want to work to try to help the community. Absolutely understand it, absolutely stand by it. I also realize that there are quite a few people out there who believe if we're going to give these people some level of control, we're going to pay them, I want to know who they are, right? I get that too. So that's why I say it's not required. However, candidates are encouraged to do so. This decision will most likely influence votes. So as a candidate, you're not required to dox if you don't want to. As a community member voting, you're not required to vote for someone who is not doxed if that doesn't make you comfortable, right? But I want you to think about this. Let's say we only knew Zaradar as Zaradar and not as Tobias Anderson, right? Let's say we knew Edward Kim simply as EDK and not as Dr. Professor Edward Kim, right? Let's say these guys weren't doxed, these particular guys, as much as the community trusts and adores them, okay? Let's say that they weren't doxed and we implemented something like this and they wanted to run and they didn't want to dox. Would you not vote for those 2 guys because they refused to give their names? Maybe you wouldn't. I don't know. That's a decision that you have to make. But I want you to ask yourself that question, okay? So, no, you don't have to dox if you don't want to run. But obviously, you got to realize that some people won't vote for you if you're not doxed. So that decision is up to you. And it's still in the hands of the community, because if as a community you don't want to vote for someone who's not doxed, don't vote for one of the guys who are doxed, right? That's my position on that. I think that that's fair. Okay, within the last 90 days, if you control a YouTube channel, regularly host Twitter Spaces, are the owner/controller of a Telegram room or Discord server, or any other social media platform that would classify you as an influencer, you are not eligible to be a candidate. This is obvious, I think. This is common sense. There are people out there with a large following. They may not be qualified for these positions, and they may have an agenda, and their followers are always an echo chamber. And the last thing that we need are people on this group, on this Senate, who are there because of popularity and not there because of proof of work, not there because of what they've accomplished and their qualifications, okay? Qualifications over popularity. We have to do that. We have to. That's part of growing up as a community, guys, okay? It's not about who's popular and about who you like. It's about who can do the job. All right. The last point is you must be 21 years of age. I can't imagine anybody's going to argue with that, right? All right. Leave comments in the comment section about any of that. If you think anything should be added to it. If you don't agree with it, whatever. Senate power. Here's another one. / community oversight. It is essential that the TCLS be granted a level of autonomy. Every decision that needs to be made cannot be put up for proposal and community approval. This would contradict the reasoning for electing the leadership Senate to begin with. Okay, these guys have got to be. They've got to have the ability to make some moves, some day-to-day moves, and make some decisions. Okay, they have to have the resources to do that with as well. They cannot bring every question or every decision that needs to be made to the community to be voted on. Otherwise, we'll have exactly what we have now. People going in circles. We're electing them to dictate the path because presumably they know better and they're able to come together as a think tank and figure out the way forward for us. That's the only reason for electing them. So we got to let them do the job, okay? Without getting in the middle of it all the time. We will be electing men and women of accomplishment to specific roles. We must trust them to do the work necessary and make decisions that are best for the progress of the Terra Classic chain and LUNC community. Control of a multi-sig wallet, funded monthly from the community pool, is to be entrusted to the TCLS and controlled by smart contract, activated by a supermajority of signatories, right? So, they have to have resources to work with. I mean, we know that, right? How much that is, we'll have to figure out, okay? Or they'll have to figure out, submit it to us, or we'll get to that, okay? But what I'm talking about, and I don't know that I'm using this term correctly. When I say supermajority, this is in my head what I mean, right? If we had 7 members of this council, right? It can't be a simple. This is the way I understand it. It can't be a simple majority. In other words, a 4-3 vote, and then it's yes. Okay, I think that's what a simple majority is. What I'm talking about is it's going to be 5-2. I think that's what a super majority is. I could be all wrong, but that's what I meant by it. All right. I don't want. I don't want a 4-3. I want a 5-2 vote before any money is taken out of this multi-sig wallet to use for anything. This is going to encourage this team to work together and all be on the same page. The last thing we want is factions within the team and butting heads that they don't get anywhere, okay? They've got to work together. Think back to Terra Rebels before we reestablished governance. They might have all had their own individual ideas on how to come forward, but they had one centralized goal, and that was to reestablish governance, and they worked together masterfully to get it accomplished, right? Okay. A budget and monthly stipend will be submitted by the TCLS via spend proposal and voted on by the community. So again, we got to get them in office and let them figure out, okay, this is what we're going to need to actually function and run and make things work on a monthly basis from the community pool. And hopefully they come up with ways how they're going to actually, replenish the pool as well, right? But let them submit that to us. and then we'll vote on it and we'll say, okay, we agree with that, or no, that's too much. You got to work with a little less than that, right? Whatever it is, it's in our hands. We decide it. They let us know what they think they need, and we decide whether we're going to actually be able to give it to them or not, okay? Or maybe we'll ask them for something else. All right, how are you going to get that money back in there? What's that going to look like? You know, whatever. We're still maintaining control of this in this idea, guys. It's still about the community. All right. Any project, initiative, or financial need above and beyond the approved budget must be submitted to the community via governance proposal to be voted on. In other words, let's say we decide to give them X amount of money that automatically goes into their wallet per month out of the community pool, right? But some opportunities, some projects, and whatever comes up where they say, okay, this is going to need some funding. They've got to submit that to us, and we got to vote on it, yes or no, whether we're going to move in that direction. Again, it's still the community keeping control, all right? It's just having a group that we trust to keep us focused and say, this is what we really think should be the path forward, okay? All right. Here's one you're going to love. Veto. Bear with me, okay? I know some of you are choking on the word already. Hear me out, all right? And then we'll talk about it in the comment section. Veto. The TCLS should have veto powers over any proposal submitted and voted on by the community, regardless of the outcome, yes or no. Should the TCLS choose to invoke these powers, they will be given 48 hours to submit a written declaration of veto, which will spell out why they have done so. Additionally, they must, within 72 hours, resubmit the proposal to be voted on again by the community, incurring all fees from the monthly budget, from their wallet, right? Which, I understand is still community money, but why should the author of this proposal have to put it up again and spend the money, right? The community is going to take that on. Should the proposal be reaffirmed by the community, the TCLS must accept the outcome and proceed accordingly. Let me break this down for you. The way my mindset is, or the way I'm thinking about this, right? I know the way this probably sounds. This is still us in control. This is not in any way, shape, or form giving control to the TCLS to approve or disapprove of anything that is submitted, any proposals that are submitted that the community votes on, right? This is what I'm thinking. So the TCLS has a path in mind. They've got a roadmap, whatever it is that they put together, right? A proposal comes up out of left field from maybe an opposing kind of idea or whatever, right? And the people that submit it are loud. They're in the Telegram rooms. They're on Twitter Spaces. They're really revving the community up to vote for it, right? And the community votes yes on it. But the TCLS knows the path and knows that is going to be a huge hurdle on the path of what you elected us to do for you, okay? They will, at that point, be able to say, hold on, hold your horses, right? Especially if it's a parameter change proposal, right? Which would kind of get enacted immediately. The TCLS would have the power to say, hold off on that 72 hours, right? And they would, within 2 days, they have to submit a written thing that says to you, this is why that's not going to be a good idea. It's going to interfere with what we're trying to do, and it's going to prevent this, and that. They'll have to spell the whole thing out. And if they can sell their idea to you, right? Hopefully, they can sell their idea to you. If they can't sell their idea to you, that's fine. 72 hours after that, they have to resubmit that proposal, and we're either going to read what they say and say, okay, we get it. All right, maybe that's not a great idea. Let's go with what you want to do. Or we're going to say, no, we like that. We want to go with it. And then they're just going to have to work around it. They're going to have to do it. So the ultimate control is still in the community's hands, right? They have, all right, so within 72 hours, resubmit the proposal to be voted on again by the community, incurring all fees from the monthly budget. Should the proposal be reaffirmed by the community, the TCLS must accept the outcome and proceed accordingly. All right? It's just a halt. That's all it is, the veto. They can't, not that they can abolish anything that is voted through by proposal, by governance, right? It's just a halt to say that's going to be a problem and this is why, all right? Now, if we voted these people in and we trust them, we should want to hear their voice, okay? So that's, that's what that is, all right? And again, comments in the comment section if that makes any sense to you, if you think that's horrible, if you think it's great, if you understand what I'm saying, let me know. And that's pretty much the end of it, okay? A yes vote signifies that you agree the Terra Classic requires structure and a team of qualified professionals to lead us up a winning path. A no vote signifies that you believe things are going fine as is and Terra Classic remaining in full community control is the way forward. That's my spitballing idea. And I know it's rough. I know there's a million tweaks that could be made to this. Or maybe you're reading this and you're saying, you're out of your freaking mind, Trev. There's no way in the world anybody would ever vote for that. It makes no sense at all. And if that's the case, that's the case. That's fine, right? I'm fine with that. I've got tough skin. But I just, when I watch all of everything that's going on, all the factions and all the fighting and all the, I don't see an end to it. I don't see the glass half full and all of a sudden everyone is going to come together and coalesce and sing Kumbaya and we're going to move forward, I don't see it. So I'm trying to think of a way that we can get rid of all that, and this is what I came up with, If somebody wants to come up with something else or someone wants to add on to this or whatever or talk to me about it, let's do that. So anyway, I told you it was going to be a long video. I know it was a long video. I'm very sorry about that. But I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm anxious to see what you guys have to say about this. All right. And that'll determine whether I just, take this out back of the barn and shoot it, or if I move forward on it a little bit. Now I have sent it to Edward Kim. I've sent it to Zaradar. Ed got back to me and said that he would be reading it today and he would get back to me with some ideas. He has in the past sent me some of his proposals as one of the people. He sends them to a lot of people, but he sent me some of his proposals to read and get back to him with feedback. So I trust that he will do the same for me. And I'll be very interested to hear what he has to say too. If he tells me I should take this out the back and shoot it, I'll let you know that. I really value his opinion, Zaradar's opinion. I value a lot of people's opinions. And I value your opinion as, the guys and gals who are actually subscribed to my channel. I appreciate you. And I want to hear from you. All right, that's it. I'm going to let you go. How do we do this? I think I do it like this. And I'll talk to you next time. All right.